because of just my body. I can't change my body, the body I was born with. I just look young. So you look young, you look small. So people are always like assuming that must be someone's secretary or someone's girlfriend. And so they dismiss you immediately.
Yes.
I've been dismissed so many times. Someone is actually having an appointment with me and they think I'm the receptionist. And they're like, I'd like to meet Nerima. And I'm like, okay, let me go and find her.
Then you come back.
Hi.
So your husband ran as the MP,
MP.
Mathare, using the UDA ticket. Yes. And my assumption was that you were supporting Azimio while he was in UDA. So I was like, this is such a democratic family. Wow.
It was tough because when he decided to vie, initially he was in ODM. And I think my husband has had, one interview about this. And also it's for people to know he spent a lot of money. He spent almost 7 million on the election.
Yes.
And also realizing that I can see why young couples don't make it
After. Hi guys, karibuni sana. This is Jalango TV in collaboration with my channel, Joyce Cheruto Keter, and I'm your host, your girl, Joyce Cheruto. This is an amazing show where we talk to pace setters, change makers, and leaders in their own right who have made strides in what they're doing just to be able to understand their journey. And for those who have been subscribing and listening in, asanteni sana for the support. And for the new subscribers, karibuni sana. And we hope we will inspire you to be the change that you want to see. Now, today, you guys are not ready because Nerima Wako is in the building. Hi, Nerima.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
You're good?
Yeah.
So Nerima Wako is the Executive Director of Siasa Place. It's a youth-led organization where they educate young people on matters governance, the constitution, and elections. So Nerima, you guys are doing an amazing job at Siasa Place.
Thank you.
You are the youth president. What's on come here?
The way I'm out of that bracket, I'm leaving that bracket.
No.
I am.
Bado tu.
I am. Staki kwa Mugabe. The youth space, staki.
So let's deep dive into the conversation. And I just want to address the elephant in the room. Are you by any chance related to Amos Wako?
That had to be the first question.
Yes, it had to be. It's just coincidence. Ni jina tu.
No. I am. He's my uncle. So my dad and him are brothers. But, in African families, that's your father.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Baba mkubwa, baba mdogo.
Exactly.
Baba mkubwa.
Baba mkubwa.
Nice. So for me, Amos Wako is someone, in the history books that we will not miss him in the history books because he served as the 4th Attorney General with over 20 years serving for 2 presidents, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi and Mwai Kibaki. And at very historical points because he served during the establishment of multi-party democracy, and when he was leaving, it was during the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, with such a formidable force, how was it edging out a name for yourself and just shaving off the Amos Wako tag?
I love that question that you've asked. And first, it's to appreciate that you recognize the shading off. Because for me, I still feel like the name does follow me around. And as much as I have built a persona of my own, it was still difficult to do so. And I didn't realize who my uncle was until class 8. And it was class 8 because when we were doing the exams for our index numbers, KCPE, Of course, when you do the exam, they sit you according to your index number. So I remember we were in a class, we had many streams. Na unajua wakati mnafanya hiyo mtihani, you're put in a big hall, right? And so I remember the teacher reading out our names loudly. And so me, I was index number 17.
Clever girl.
I tried. So when I had, when my last name was said, that's now when I saw, the other streams being like, like murmuring, like, I she. And so I feel it was from that moment. Now you're like 12, 13, you're like, Connie, this name. And so you're used to seeing your uncle as an uncle.
Yeah.
So when you'd go to his house or family gatherings, he's your uncle.
Yeah.
And so he would joke with you and all that. So you don't see him as this huge persona that's on television. And you have another side to him that, the rest of the country is not privy to.
Of course.
Yeah. So I feel when Siasa Place started, it's now when I started getting, really linked to that name now completely. And people being like, oh, you're definitely his daughter. You're just, doing this to spend some of his money, his corruption money, and just trying to bully you.
Yeah.
And also the stereotype that you come from a very privileged background. What do you know about trying to help the country? Like, what are you trying to do at you're talking about youth for what? You come from privilege. How dare you? I get that.
You get that a lot.
Yeah. But then being able to still build this platform, because when we told my uncle the name of the organization is Siasa Place, he laughed. He was like, Siasa? Wow.
Politics place.
Politics? Really? He was like, you, politics? And he really laughed. He's like, where did you come with this name?
Yeah, I love your imitation of.
Yeah, man. He was just like, where did you come with this name? Where did it come from? He really giggled. And, a lot of people don't realize that actually my uncle had nothing to do with the growth of Siasa Place. Like even chipping in or ideas, just watching from a distance and being like, okay, you do you. If you need questions or anything, I'm here, but you do you. And I feel like that breakaway has been difficult, but over time, people have come to see who I am. They're like, yeah, actually, kumbe, she can think. Kumbe, this girl has a brain. Kumbe. And that's how now we've built trust. And yeah, but it still follows me, but not as much. Not as much. Because sometimes it feels good for my uncle to call me and say, hey, I was in a meeting and someone asked about you. I was like, it's happened to you. Because normally it happens to me. And so it's been an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, that definitely shows that you have created your own brand, Nerima Wako. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So we would want to know more about you. And how would you like to describe yourself to someone who's listening to you for the first time?
I am actually very open. I like to think I'm friendly, but a lot of people, if they don't know me, they think that I'm very standoffish and cold and assertive.
But you have such a, friendly face.
People think I'm so scary. I think also because sometimes I end up in these very serious debates. And so by the time they see me, they're interacting with me on an interview, on a television interview or radio or something. So they don't interact with me personally. So they wouldn't know that side of me that's the friendly, the funny. I'm actually very goofy. So even in a lot of my groups, I'll make fun of people, I'll joke. Or even in my team group on WhatsApp, I'm the one who cracks the jokes, whatever. But when it comes to work, I'm very serious. So I can flip. So I can be a joking buddy, I crack you up, we have a good time, and then I can flip and it's like serious, military, and we work. So I have those two dimensions, but I also like to consider myself Pan-African. So I love many things African. I love traveling within Africa, learning about different cultures, foods, languages, history. I love the history of Africa, I always tell my parents, I think I should have been born in West Africa, because I feel that they celebrate culture much more than we do. So sometimes I feel like there's something missing. So even in my own family, I will explain different things like, do you know what the original name for Africa is? Or my son has a very African name. So that's what I would say. And I love movies.
And do you have the time to watch movies?
Yeah,
You
I have
have
the time. I make the time.
You make the time to watch movies.
Series. Yeah.
So I would really want to see your goofy side, because what we get to see is the serious side because of the work, the kind of work that you do. Where were you born?
I was born in Nairobi. I was born in Nairobi Hospital. I've lived in Nairobi my whole life. Just when I went to school in the US, that's when I lived in the US for 7 years. Primary also in Nairobi. I went to St. Nicholas, which is still there on Gong Road. And then for secondary, high school, that's now when I went to Aga Khan Academy, the one in Parklands. But I've just always been in Nairobi, born and raised.
Wow. So how would you describe your childhood like? How was it like being Nerima Wako?
Childhood. I would say that I grew up in a very stable household.
Yeah.
My parents, 4 kids, I'm number 3. And number 1 and 2, my older brother and sister, there's a huge gap between us, maybe 10 plus years. And so I feel when my parents had me, they knew, like, we're older, we have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. We now know in terms of raising a child, what we want to expose them to and when. So they were I would say my parents were very secure of themselves and very confident. So me and my younger brother, now the 4th, we are close with our parents, and it's close in an interesting way where by the time I'm 13, I was discussing politics with my father.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
And he would care about my opinion. We would be watching CNN, and he would
You would watch CNN at 13 years
13.
old.
I started at 10.
When some of us were watching Trace TV or something like
That's the thing. So he would ask me questions on world politics, and we would have discussions on what's going on globally. So I started that pretty young.
Wow.
And so I noticed that my parents, they began to conversate with us as young adults early in terms of responsibility. So we were not chapward like as kids that you are being beaten. We were not. If you did something wrong, they would discuss with you. Like, what do you think you did wrong? How do you think you should be punished, and why are you being punished? Was very clear. So we also traveled a lot as kids, and I remember as early as maybe 15, 16, my father used to work for the aviation industry. So he used to get flights at a discount. So it allowed us to travel a lot.
Yeah.
And so by the time we were 15, 16, me and my brother, we went to France. Yeah. And he just, gave us each 100 euros. You go for 2 weeks. And we lived with my aunt. Yeah.
On your own.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. But my auntie was on the other side.
Yeah, to receive you.
But just to experience that travel, experience culture, experience what it's like to live in another country and have a holiday in another country without my parents. I think that's where I'm saying my parents were a little bit ahead of their time.
Yeah, for sure they were. And I'm just wondering, is there a childhood memory that you look back on and you think there are some values that you get from those memories and you think it has shaped the person that you are today?
Yes, for sure. I think we were raised in a home that had a lot of discipline, not being beaten, but understanding the importance of routine and schedule. So my mother, no matter what, every Sunday we went to church, even if it was raining. And, you'd ask her, why it's raining? She'd be like, sometimes it's raining and you have to go to work.
Yeah.
Schedule remains schedule. And so we learned routine quite early. And that has created discipline for me, because I've found out, or I've realized that a lot of times things work because of consistency. A lot of young people don't have consistency and discipline, and those are some of the foundations that you need to build anything. And you can only have consistency if you have routine. And also, the other thing that we were raised up with was, I don't know how my parents instilled humility. Because when I look at my siblings, like, you wouldn't know the kind of upbringing we had unless you asked us.
Yeah.
So we're not showy, we're not flashy. We believe in getting to know an individual. We will talk to everybody the same way, from somebody extremely rich to someone who we would consider poor. We treat them the same. So I would say that we're all kind, and I think that is something that's so hard to instill, and it's something that I'm hoping to instill in my children, but it's something that we all have, where we recognize that some people are born in privilege, and with that privilege, what are you going to do with it? So each of us, we give back to the community in our own ways. My younger brother has a foundation for people with kidney disease. My sister, she pays school fees for a number of children. My older brother, he supports a number of families. All of us, just in our own, because we feel like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do as a human who has access to privilege. Yeah.
Wow, I like it. So discipline, consistency, humility, and giving back to the community. Wow. And I also like what you've said about discipline, because, most people, when they're doing things, they feel like, bado sina motivation ya kufanya. But the truth is, you might not be motivated to do something, but if you consistently do it and if you're disciplined, then you'll find motivation along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, ulisomea journalism?
Yes.
Na Masters in Public Administration. And now you're the Executive Director in Siasa Place. So what motivated you to start Siasa Place and not go into journalism or not work in government?
That's a good question. So first of all, I like journalism, and even if you are to take a look at Siasa Place right now, you'll notice we have very active platforms. So we're either doing videos, we're doing infographics, we're doing competitions. It's actually run like a small media station.
Oh.
Yeah. If you just look at Siasa Place, yeah. And I can safely say that we're the most active youth organization in the country right now. So I'm still sort of using my journalism background in leading Siasa Place, but I ended up doing public administration because I got a scholarship. Someone offered. They were like, hey, you're smart. There's a program here for public administration, governance. Would you like to do it? I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Even though I wasn't thinking, how am I going to use it? What am I going to use it for? I was just like, let me just use this opportunity. Then after I graduate, I'll figure it out. So now when I did my master's, I ended up having an internship now in Washington, D.C., for an NGO that now worked in 33 countries in Africa. So from there, I would say that's where my journey began, where I was working on youth programs, but I was supposed to work on African youth programs, but I was hardly meeting African youth. Majority of the staff were white. And then you're just like, how come? Like that. And I'm like, where are the youth groups? Yeah. And so I began to question, where are the youth groups in Kenya?
In Kenya, yeah.
So that's now when I came across Youth Agenda, Youth Alive Kenya. And so when I came home after I graduated.
And you saw a gap. Yeah.
I saw a gap. And so Siasa Place actually just started online. I was like, I'm seeing a gap. I'm not seeing young people discussing current national affairs and where their voice is on national affairs. And so that's how Siasa Place started on Twitter. Just
and
discussing.
Young people really didn't care. I'm feeling like at that time they really didn't care
There
about
very
for
few.
politics.
Yeah, there were very few. Like those who cared, they were in political parties or working with politicians. You have those who are passionate about it because of their surroundings. And then you have those who might have an interest, but they don't have a group to connect with. So even when we started online, it started like, I don't want to say like a joke, but it started like a small thing. Like, let's see who would be interested in these conversations. And then we found out so many people were. And then it began to grow from there. Like, okay, let's now have the conversations physically. Okay, let's have them in Maseno. Let's have them in Nakuru. Let's have them in Kericho. Before we knew it, it was growing and growing. Then we decided to form an organization.
And as you're having that conversation, you would see the youth who are engaged and they liked it.
Yes. Many. We were like, wow, this is actually something that young people actually want. The problem is the platform. It's not there. And so the more we do it, the more we even began to see other groups propping up, other groups organizing in their own counties, which is fantastic. Because youth are like, okay, let's create our own spaces and engage.
Wow. So I like the journalism bit, because let me tell you, in the world that we live in right now, the social media world, I feel like Siasa Place will prosper with your journalism degree.
Amen.
Amen.
First of all, they're on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok yet. And I was being told yesterday, like, hey, we've reached 5,000 likes. I'm like, wow.
On a post? On a certain post?
And I'm like, oh, I need to join TikTok. Then I'm like, I don't know how to join. I'm not going to do this now.
TikTok is fun.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Yes. It's like, a lot, because you've said you're goofy.
Yeah, I would like it.
Yeah, you would like it.
But I think people would be confused. They'd be like, is this the same chick on TikTok?
You just post on TikTok only, and then the Facebook, Instagram, the other platforms, they see the serious side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's an idea.
if it's a
That's
avenue.
an idea.
Yeah, it's an avenue to just let off some steam. So what has your experience been like as a woman, a young woman in political activism? Because me, when I look at political activism, it's a male-dominated area. So I'm just wondering, I'm sure you have a lot of stories. You can even write a book.
I was just thinking that. I was like, yeah, the stories I have.
Tell us.
Let me start with the positives. I think the positives are the different perspectives that you're able to bring in terms of, even when you're thinking about political activism, when people are like, hey, let's have a meeting, we need to organize, there's something we need to plan for. A lot of times, a lot of political engagements happen at night or in bars. A lot of very serious decisions are had over drinks.
Yes.
And that's very masculine. And so even sometimes being able to be in these spaces, you bring the question of safety, security, proximity, danger, that a lot of times people don't think about. It's like, let's go here. I'm like, oh, wait, I can't. Because sometimes you don't have a car, you know? How am I going to get there? And a lot of them do have cars. So those dynamics, you're able to bring them. And hopefully if you're working with people, because I've met amazing people that have helped me along the way, who are willing to come to a compromise and be like, yeah, actually, we didn't think about that. Let's have some of the engagements earlier. Let's have them here. Because also with the family dynamic, there's the pre-family or before I had a family. I was able to, stay
Have
up
the
late, work, and not necessarily feel that I am missing out or I need to be doing something else on this end.
Yeah.
And as a young woman, because you're not with family, you tend to get a lot of advancements, sometimes unnecessary. Sometimes you're not even... It's annoying.
Yes, it is.
So you have to now build a persona of, hey, this is the chick, by the way, hapendangi maneno.
A standoffish sort of,
You have to now create this standoffish persona, which, again, pros and cons. Because people are like, I don't want to work with that chick because she's so difficult.
Yeah.
So women are called difficult. But men, that guy is so confident. It's different.
Yes.
So there's also that balance of, you have to be nice. Why are you not smiling? Why are you always so cold? To, you are friendly, but also there's a limit to my friendliness. and people understand where that limit is and they're not taking advantage of it. It's a very tricky balance. And then there's the whole imposter syndrome. Because of just my body. I can't change my body, the body I was born with. I just look young. So you look young, you look small. So people are always like assuming that must be someone's secretary or someone's girlfriend. And so they dismiss you immediately.
Yes.
I've been dismissed so many times. Someone is actually having an appointment with me and they think I'm the receptionist. And they're like, I'd like to meet Nerima. And I'm like, okay, let me go and find her.
Then you come back.
Hi. And then the guy was like, stop joking. And I'm like, no, for real. And at that time, my whole team had left for lunch. This has actually happened.
Oh, it has.
Yeah. And he was like, you, stop playing with me. And so he sat down in the reception and I went back to my office. So when the team comes, he asks now the actual receptionist, like, yeah, I'd like to meet with Nerima. And she's like, yeah, but she's here. She's been here with you. And he apologized
a million
so
times.
Much. And so we have that stereotype of what women in politics look like.
Yes.
Women in politics, they have a type of look.
Yeah, you should look this way.
Look like this. And me, I just defy that look entirely. So it confuses people. It's like, wait a minute, you don't look like you're in politics. What the heck?
And then Nerima, you look very young.
You see?
You look like you're 20.
So it's even harder. You're in a meeting, you're supposed to be discussing things, and people are just like, they can't get past how is this child leading this meeting? So that was also a battle. But then after having a family, which I tell people that I'm a feminist, but we have to be realistic about what feminism means in the context of Africa and culture, tradition, and capability. So after that, it was difficult because of the balance. In fact, I've had so many women come up to me and say, how did you do it? As soon as I got a child, I had to drop out of politics. It was too much. Time
You took a break
consuming.
for how long?
Me, 6 months.
6
my
months.
maternity. Yeah.
So
they're
that's
like-
not a long time.
Yeah.
It's not.
Because there are people who go 6 years.
Yes.
Yeah. And I cannot blame them because I'm like, you know what? I get it. And I've had this conversation back and forth with my sister where we're like, can you have it all? And the conclusion we've come to is you can, but in different stages in life. You're not going to have it all at once. So that balance.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
this season will be about family. The next season will be about your career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think you can have career and family together. If you are a clone.
You're close. You're
Because
not
there's no
human.
way.
You're not human.
You're not human.
Have you read the book
There's no
Lean
way.
In by Sheryl Sandberg?
I
Is that
haven't.
how you pronounce it? Ama nime
No,
butcher.
you're right. Leaning. I've had my battles. Like, I've just been seeing the reviews and I get angry, but I have not read it.
You haven't read it because she talks about feminizing the spaces that you're in, and there's nothing wrong being a woman and getting to the top, of in terms of your career. And also she talks about imposter syndrome. I think you should read it. Yeah, it really gave me a very new perspective as to how to lead as a woman. Yes.
But you see, also, unfortunately, like for me, my leave days at my office are longer because I'm a woman. I have paternity that's longer because I'm a woman.
Yes.
So even just hearing that response, you have to be in a position to be able to change the policies of where you are. To acknowledge, okay, I have to change the environment. My office didn't have a place to store milk if a mother is breastfeeding. I had to fix that. Offices today, here, where do women breastfeed? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to wait to get home.
Thank you. So, and this is why I've had challenges to read that book. Because, I mean, I should. But from what I've heard of it, we have to recognize that you have to be in a position to actually change the systems of where you work to make spaces feminine. You might want to make spaces feminine, but who are you in the company?
But you can. Nerima can.
I can.
You can, yeah.
And I have.
And you have.
Yeah. But I'm also fighting
In a
spaces that are
society.
not like mine. Yeah.
Yes.
Societies find my office strange. Like, what do you
Yes.
mean you have that? Someone in my office today has stayed home because she's cramping. It's very normal.
It is.
Yeah. You're in pain? Stay home. Work
Okay.
from home.
Work from home, yeah.
But in a normal
Work environment, that would not,
Thank
yeah,
you.
come to work. What do you mean you have cramps?
cramps. So and that's what, like, I encourage people to understand that yes, we talk about it all the time about yes, making the environment sensitive, but then we don't do it. We don't do it. We don't try to.
We stop just at the talks.
Yeah, we stop at the talks because it's hard work. It's hard work to do. It's like you're telling people swim this way while the whole world is swimming
Swimming
that
the
way.
other way.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, you have to have, I believe, leadership that also believes in what you're doing and stands with your team to do so and stands with the board to do so.
I agree with you. So let's go back to 2020. Was it 2022, 2021 thereabouts? Where there was a Dynasty versus Hustler narrative. And you are Nerima Wako, coming from the Wako family. How is it
Yeah.
like for you?
I don't consider myself Dynasty.
You don't consider yourself?
I don't. And that's the thing about that narrative. It's so fluid. Because even the person saying dynasties, me, I think it's Dynasty.
Oh, no.
Akianani, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Uh,
I do.
you do.
I do. Because if we were to look at bank accounts, me, I'm not the Dynasty. Yeah. Me, personally, I don't have that much wealth. And there are families that have mass wealth, ownership to hotels and companies galore, and they're out here calling themselves hustlers. We need to just see through the lies. No, there are two classes in this country, and that's the haves and the have-nots. That's very clear. And we can set a line of what is having. Statistically, 3% of the Kenyan population are considered to be living well. Only 3% of Kenyans earn over 100,000 shillings a month.
Yes.
3%.
3% of 50
3.
plus now million Kenyans. Wow.
That is worrying. So for me, that narrative is just a political terminology, which is clever because it gets people to side on things that are not true. But the reality of it, most people who do not have access to that podium are the hustlers. The ones with the mics are the Dynasty. And that's just how clear it needs to be. We're not on the same page.
Okay, so from your response, I would assume that you supported Azimio.
Why would
I
you
don't know.
assume that?
I would assume
Why?
from your response of the Hustler versus Dynasty. I don't know. I get a feeling. I could be wrong.
My husband is in UDA.
Yes. So your husband ran as the MP Mathare, you in a using the UDA ticket. Yes. And my assumption was that you were supporting Azimio while he was in UDA. So I was like, this is such a democratic family. Wow. Am I wrong?
I don't know if I support Azimio fully. Like, I feel even the way I voted, it was so zigzag. It was all over the place.
Oh, okay.
Like, I went like this. I wasn't on one particular side.
You're supporting what people stand for rather than the party or the coalition.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I find it so hard to say that, yeah, I'm Azimio, yeah, I'm UDA. I'm following the person that I voted. And whether they are following the promises that they made or not. But a lot of people have that assumption of us. But I love it because it can show that you can have diverse views on politics and still
Live in the same
peacefully.
house.
raise a family. And
Yes.
it's okay.
Have kids.
Yeah. Like, we need to stop acting like we can't interact with each other.
Yeah, and tolerate different people having different views.
Exactly.
Yes.
We can.
So
And we
how was
should.
2022 like for your family in the
Yeah.
campaign period? Just take us through how it was like for your family campaigning up to the announcement of the MP, Madare.
Yeah.
Thus, of course, a very big blow to your husband, and also just up to now the Supreme Court ruling, everything. We would want to know
Wow.
that period. Yeah, what were you going through?
It was tough because when he decided to vie, initially he was in ODM. And I think my husband has had, one interview about this. And also it's for people to know he spent a lot of money. He spent almost 7 million on the election.
Yes.
And also realizing that I can see why young couples don't make it
After.
If we didn't have a plan, I'm grateful that we have friends who, kept whispering in our ear, hey, wekeni pesa kando. Yeah?
And just to
Wekeni
put
pesa
it
kando.
into perspective, 2022 just comes after COVID, meaning businesses were not making money.
making
So
money.
7 million
Yeah, 7
shillings,
million.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And so the good thing is, like, the only way we were able to remain afloat was because of that planning in terms of, what will we fall on in case this doesn't go through.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we had that. But for couples or families that don't, because we like to say this person vied, they vied with their family.
Yeah.
Because you also go through the trauma of being insulted in WhatsApp group, being insulted on Facebook groups. They come for you, they come for your kids sometimes. And then you also have, you don't see your partner because they're campaigning until 2 in the morning. They come home, they sleep, they're out by 6 in the morning. So you hardly see them for almost 3 months.
Yeah.
And it can really put a strain on relationship. So I'd say initially he was in ODM, and then when he chose to leave, I think a lot of people were shocked that he didn't join an Azimio party. And when he went to UDA, that's when the insults came. Like, people really insulted him. I think it was more shocking that he was Luo doing that.
Yes.
And then he was one of the first to do that. And we've seen recently MPs who joined the finance bill. We've seen what's happened to them.
Yes.
So you can imagine you joining a party and, people say, oh, you're not of that tribe. What are you doing there? You're betraying.
Yes.
And so to see that, and people keep saying, oh, 2022 was not as tribal as it normally is. I'm always saying that is a lie. It depends where you're looking.
Our politics is very tribal.
It's still very tribal. The conversation just didn't get onto the microphones, onto the platforms in the public rallies. But if you listened to people after a rally, kwa base, you would know what tribe was.
Yeah. That is
Yes.
true. That is
Yes.
true, because I was campaigning and I know.
Yeah. So it's still there. It's just that people were whispering it in their little trusted spaces and being like, oh, huyo hapana, anatoka hii clan. Lazima hii nini waende hivi. It was there and even worse because now we were going into clans and not just tribe.
Yeah.
And you remember the conversation of the deputy president. Oh, it has to be Kikuyu. We literally had people waiting to announce who the deputy president was. But we all knew
The
all
tribe.
the DPs would be Kikuyu.
Yes.
And it became a conversation, Kikuyu from where?
Tuliambiwa ni tongaje numbers. It's about what of numbers? I've even forgotten.
I remember this thing.
Yeah, we will.
Tutakumbuka
after.
You'll remember if you left.
Yes.
The tyranny of numbers.
Yes.
Thank God it came. Anyway, so for us, the election was tough. But I think it was, I don't know, we decided that I wasn't going to be involved in his campaigns. So I never went to Madare. I never spoke. He never involved me in that. And I'm kind of glad that he didn't, because he also didn't want my identity to be mixed up in his.
Okay.
Because of the work that I do have to be an open platform. I work with everybody.
Yeah, you have to be neutral.
I have to be neutral. And so it also allowed me to continue with my work in peace. But also at the same time, I know it was hard for him, because as a politician, you want to show, I have a family, I have children, look at them, salimiana watu. So he had to remove
because
that.
family values are very important in our society.
Yes. So I know that was a decision that we decided. But then when it came to him getting the ticket, I know he was so happy about it. They had to do that online survey stuff.
That was a big milestone, by the way.
Yeah, he got the UDA ticket,
Yes.
imagine. And he was seen as the most popular candidate to get it. And then it came to now him actually going. We voted with his grandmother, his siblings. We all went and we voted. And the counting. Oh my gosh. We're in a room, I don't know how many people. Just seeing results as they are coming and doing the tallying, and some of them you're happy, some of them you're concerned.
So you had a tallying center.
Yes. So it kept going up and down. And then at some point, we're like, wait, numbers stopped coming. Then at some point, wait, numbers are not making sense. So even if you check, even in the news, Mathare elections, it stalled for a bit, for one night. They stopped counting. And it's because even they found like some boxes were opened, some were tampered with. There was just a whole mess. And there were threats in terms of the presiding officer being threatened to continue. It was a mess.
So it was politics being politics.
It was a mess. It was a mess. And I remember like the disappointment when they made the announcement and feeling cheated with the way the results came to. And debating whether to go to court or not was a huge discussion we would have back and forth.
What was the margin?
I think maybe 6,000.
Wow,
I think
that's a
6,000.
small margin.
Yeah, 6,000. And even for him, I know that he knew that it was going to be tough because it's Mathare and he's with UDA. So I think even his performance was a surprise for many. They were not expecting those numbers over 10,000.
They expected a bigger gap.
Yeah, they expected a bigger gap. So I think it was a big lesson because we come from a phase where his phone would not be quiet. Everyone is trying to reach him. People are trying to call him to a point where now it's silence, you know. So.
I relate. No one is calling.
No one is calling.
Only your husband and your mother. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so I think that reality check for him shook him because personality-wise, my husband is very outgoing. He's an extrovert, so very open. And so I think it was shocking for him to see like, oh my gosh, like people are just gonna drop me like that, even friends. So we were finally getting out of the period of, coming to terms with, okay, not winning it. And then after the Supreme Court ruling, of course, he was happy about it. It's his party.
Yes.
And then to him not getting a position, it was also like, okay, that's odd. But he was still hopeful. I think he has a very resilient personality because now he went back to farming, his center, and now he's doing good. Now
He's doing good. And the family is
now we're
out of the rocks, yeah?
And sometimes I ask him, are you going to do 2027? He just looks at me like, I don't know. I'm just like, it should be no.
me even the question to you would be, do you have any plans to join politics after that experience?
No, I would say, hell no.
Hell no. Like, for sure.
For sure.
You don't want to run. Na vile tunasema we ni youth president.
I don't want to run. You know, me, I'm not like, there's a game in politics that I don't know how to play, which is the people pleasing. Me, I'm a worker. Like, give me an office, I can work behind the scenes and you'll get results. I like results. I'm not here to be someone's friend, to listen to where the party wants us to go. You're being given a bill, pitisha hiki tu, usisome. I can't do that. Like, I need to read, give my opinion on the matter. If I disagree with my party leader will know why I disagreed with you. And I feel like Kenya is not at that point. There are not enough courageous people to disagree. And I think it's only Wamuchomba who was. I feel like all our leaders need to speak up on things that they don't agree with. And you can see how she was treated. So, and that's why I would find it difficult to enter politics because of the politics of our country.
Okay. But I think you are the leaders that we need in this country, to be honest. Yes. So what are the life lessons that you have learned so far?
So far?
In your 30, how many?
34.
Just demystify that you're not 20-something.
34.
34. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You don't look it.
Thank you. Thank you. I really want to, people say mentor, but I'm really genuine about my mentorship. I actually, if I mentor you, I will mentor through and through, because I feel like there are many aspects of your life that are combined. So for me, what I would say, it has to be consistency. That remains true and true. I have a planner which I follow faithfully. Without it, I don't know where I would be. And
a planner. Or you have a planner.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to write down like my meetings, I have to schedule things to just see what's my day like and what am I doing today. And that's important for me because, a lot of people, when I tell them I meditate in the morning, there are some friends of mine who look at me like, I'm like, I swear. So, every morning when I meditate, I do look at my plan. And I'm like, these are the things that I want to do productively. And I want to be present. So if I am with you, I will not have my phone. Yeah, because I'm present. Yeah. And that's what I also do with my son. And we do at home. So it's like, if I'm talking to you for 1 hour. And it's 1 hour of focus.
Active listening.
And I think that's also something that has really helped me to be able to understand, because I feel like my job, a lot of people are like, I want to be a CEO someday. And I say it's a lot of work. One, you work the most and your hours are very fluid. You're constantly working.
You can't say 8 to 5.
You can't. You're invited for cocktails, breakfast meetings, travel here, interviews. So you're fluid. And then secondly, it's people management. You have to understand your team, what inspires, what motivates, what demoralizes, what's missing, what do they need, what do we need to put resources for. It's people management. So the listening is so important. And I often, even if a decision is to be made in my team, I often speak last because I don't want to influence the decision. Like, let me hear from everyone, then I'll decide. Even from something as simple as what color should the jackets be, I will speak last. And sometimes I'm like, I don't like that color, but majority imeshinda. So the consistency, organized, you can't work if you're not organized, and faith. Yeah, my faith. Like, even this morning I woke up at 3 and I was like, Holy Spirit, Yani, what's happening? You want me to pray at 3 a.m.? What's going on? And if I didn't have faith, I feel like I wouldn't have the integrity that I have, because I know I have to be answerable to my maker. And
so you wake up at 3 all the time?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Depending on what the Spirit tells you.
Me to pray for.
Wow.
I do. And even today I texted 3 of my friends. I was like, hey, Spirit said I pray for you. I've prayed for you. And I've prayed for you.
This is so refreshing, hearing from a young person that they are spiritual in the world that we live in.
I am.
Wow.
I am. I would be nowhere. I would be nowhere without my maker. Yeah. So he's the one who guides me and I listen. Sometimes he will download ideas, favor with certain people as well, and also how to manage. So I feel like that relationship keeps me sane, because sometimes you're seeing so much chaos happening and you're just like, hey, dini inafanyika?
And gives you peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my faith is a big one for me.
That's awesome. Now, what is your parting shot? You can look directly into that camera to someone who wants to get into being a leader in the society or a change maker, but they don't know where to start.
My parting shot would be to start small. A lot of times when we think of a leader, we're looking at, I want to be on top of the mountain, and we forget that it's a step at a time. So whatever you're passionate about, as small as it may seem, keep doing it with the consistency and the faith, and be organized. And little by little, it'll start to make sense in terms of what you need to be doing. So a leader, we look at it from the point of the end and we forget the beginning. So I'm saying, look at a leader from the beginning. Work when no one is watching you, only your maker. And then in the end, you will find yourself a leader.
Wow, I like that you've told them to start small, because people usually someone would look at Nerima and they would want to start at where you are right now. They don't understand that you probably started off, basic. Yeah, the basic. So that is really nice. Nerima, thank you. This was such an awesome conversation.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. It was so refreshing, and you are the true definition of beauty and brains merged together.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. So that is it from us. Asanteni sana for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and tell us at the comment section, munataka tuwaletee nani next. That is it from us. Peace.